Welcome to the TeenTix Arts Podcast, also known as TAP, a Seattle-based youth podcast that focuses on empowering youth voices through the exploration of art. Here on this podcast, we share our favorite artistic influences by exploring their histories and cultural impacts. I'm Blue.
I'm Caden.
I'm Mickey.
And I'm Ashwari. And today, for our final TAP episode of the season, we will be wrapping up the year by reflecting on the TAP experience. We're going to share an artistic influence that we have grown to love this year as a part of the program, as well as some of our favorite parts of being with TAP.
I think it'd be great to go around and talk about what's inspiring us now and kind of see how we've developed as people and as a cohort. I remember at the beginning of the school year, I was mainly on my iPad doing art, but lately I've been doodling with markers and stuff, mainly after researching for the sticker movie. And I've been wanting to get more into just more physical mediums, and that's what I've been playing around with. As for what inspires me, I've been looking around at graffiti tags and murals and just stickers that are around Seattle. Earlier this year, I was able to go to New York, and it was really cool just seeing the differences between graffiti on this side of the U.S. versus the other coast. And yeah, that's what's been interesting me lately.
For me, I would say light painting photography. So I got introduced to that in the summer, and I started experimenting on it with it on my own. And for a competition, I submitted colored rice papers, and I experimented with light painting photography there. So that really got me interested in it. And another way that it influenced me was that I started looking for light sources in photography more. So that's one thing I started focusing on more. And I kind of realized how much effect light has on a photo, and how much it can really change the photo overall. And I also realized that light painting photography is kind of merging my favorite mediums, so painting and photography, because you still get to experiment with photography and capture something that's right in front of you, but you also get to add your own element and create something that's not really there by lowering the exposure time and just experimenting with lights in the background. And it really made me view both photography and painting in a different light, because like I said before, I was really more mindful of how light influenced my paintings and how changing light in photography in general can change the entire photo.
Yeah, I would say that personally music has been a very strong influence on me in the recent year or so. Starting tap, I was kind of inexperienced both in my technique and in my intellect, I would say. But over the past little while, I've been working pretty hard. I've been on the musical grind, and I think I've developed a lot as a musician. And tap has actually sort of influenced that. Episodes like the contemporary classical music one, where I got to interview Angelique Poteet, were actually pretty big influences on me musically, and they gave me a lot of new ideas. But I would just say I've been listening to a lot of music, I've been playing a lot of music and writing a lot of music, and it's really been changing me both as an artist and as an individual.
Cool. I've been getting into really a lot of westerns this program year. I've been watching so many, and I've gotten I was already kind of obsessed with the cowboy aesthetic and everything, but I have gotten so much more into it. I watched The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly for the first time this summer, and that launched my entire obsession. I love that movie, and the soundtrack is so good. And I've just been listening to soundtracks and watching more westerns all this year. And it influenced my filmmaking dreams. My one true dream for my career in the future is to direct a lesbian cowboy film. I want to do it so bad. It's I just want to do it so bad. It's so hard to find westerns or cowboy movies that the entire cast isn't entirely men. So I've been seeking those out and feeling inspired by them. One that I watched was The Quick and the Dead, and it was just really amazing. And it's not a good movie, but I loved it. And yeah, so I've just been getting into westerns, and that's been like inspiring my filmmaking dreams and everything. On that note, does anyone have any like art things that you saw this year, or like yeah, I guess saw this year and just like loved, or like what did they inspire you or anything?
One thing that I saw this year, well, it was actually just like a month ago, but I visited the Blanton Art Museum in Austin, Texas, and I really loved it because often art museums can seem a little like hard to approach because they're so big and diverse and there's so much different like art in it that you really don't know where to start. But Blanton Art Museum was like it was really small and it felt super approachable, yet it still had like so much diverse art, and not only from like different time periods but from even like all around the world. Like it had like I think Edo period Japan art, and it was super cool, and I really thought it was like truly well curated, and I could have spent so much more time there, but unfortunately I had to leave because it was closing. And I felt like all of the art was like, because it had so many different mediums, like it wasn't just paintings, it was so breathtaking, and it was like really, I felt it was so easy to lose myself in the pieces there. And another art thing I saw was the Joe Hisaishi concert in like I think it was December, January, and it was so magical. It was actually unreal seeing him in person after the interview I did with him, and it was also my first classical music concert, so it was really cool to see like how that differs from a pop concert or any other concert, and it felt really good knowing so many songs, and it like actually gave me chills. It was so cool. I didn't want it to end at all, so I was so glad he had so many encores.
Oh yeah. On like a little note, I was actually gonna talk about The Boy and the Heron, which is another Ghibli movie, and I think Joey I think he did work on it. I'm actually not sure.
He did
Yeah,
the
He
score.
did?
Yeah.
He did the whole score then. Well, I was about to say like I wanted to like say like it felt really really like, as Ashwari said, breathtaking and magical.
Yeah.
And I'm not like the biggest like film or like show or TV or movie watcher. Most of the time it's like a social thing for me to go to movies. And this time I was the one trying to ask friends to go watch. So I succeeded. I did watch it with my mom and my brother. But that also kind of reminded me of another thing that I really liked, and it was at the Brooklyn, like Museum of Brooklyn, and it was Here the Earth Grows Old, and it was a like short film about kind of like colonize like the remnants of Portuguese colonization, and it was kind of like two screens and then another art installation in the middle, and it was so immersive and so meaningful, and it gave me like not only like the chills because like wow, this is an amazing piece of art, but wow, this was so well articulated, and I felt like I was learning a lot while watching it, and that is inspiring me to go and watch more things, even though I like not a movie watcher. But wow, I love those two. Like I literally could not just sit here and describe it because it was just like I don't have the words.
Yeah. I also saw a lot of great movies this year. I loved Boy and the Heron. Some of my favorites also that I saw this year, that came out this year, I saw so many, but the ones that came out this year, I loved Love Lies Bleeding. Love Lies Bleeding is like everything I love in a movie. I also saw Problemista, which I've been like awaiting to come out for a really long time. It was amazing. I've also been going to a lot of local punk shows, which like I've also like always, or not always, but like I've been going to them for like a couple years, like pretty frequently, but I went to a lot this year. And I just love it. It's like so much fun. I love interacting with the local music scene. Yeah. And another like orchestra thing that I wanted to talk about, I went to the Seattle Symphony to see them play um, all of Angelo Badalamenti's songs, which I talked about Angelo Badalamenti in our modern classical music episode because I love Angelo Badalamenti. He's the best. Um, and yeah, it was my first time going to the symphony, and it was so cool. It was so cool to like hear that being played live because I've been listening to his like music for so long, and it's like so like different hearing it live. And also Kyle MacLachlan was there, and I love Kyle MacLachlan, so that was really cool.
Yeah, I would say that personally, something that really influenced me and I just generally enjoyed was getting to see Zakir Hussain, who is a Indian classical tabla player who plays Indian classical music as well as a lot of fusion, which is really cool. He's worked with really great fusion groups in the past, but it was just really eye opening to see because it's Indian classical music is like a completely different form of music from our own, has a completely different system, totally different values, and just the foundational elements are totally different. So to me it was completely foreign, and I was definitely interested in it before, but getting to see it on a stage live was really profound because it has a lot of improvisational in the moment elements that you really can't experience on a tape or on a recording. And getting to see that just in the moment really kind of changed my perspective on improvisation in general. The sort of musical synergy between the players was very, very profound. Like as a jazz musician personally, like sort of a jazz musician, it kind of gave me a new perspective, I would say, on just musical communication. I think because seeing these individuals who were just completely like it was like musical telepathy. It was like just on a totally different level, and even though I didn't really understand it, I could really feel it. And I would just say, yeah, that was probably a really big highlight of my artistic journey this year. And on another note, what in the last year of TAP would you all say would be your favorite interview and why?
Um, Personally, I loved my Allison Wolf interview for the Riot Girl episode. Um, just because like Allison Wolf has like been a big inspiration to me for many years, and she's one of my favorite musicians, and it was just so cool to like actually have the opportunity to talk to her, and she shared so many like cool insights about like her life, and yeah, it was just like so cool to like actually have that one on one with her because I've like been idolizing her for so long, and it was just like it's like crazy to me that she like actually said yes. So I just like if even if it was like a really bad interview, I would have been happy. But I thought it was amazing. So yeah.
Yeah, it definitely was a really good interview. But I would say personally, I would say Angelique Poteet was definitely my biggest highlight. I had some pretty good ones throughout the year, but this also was my first. I would say was my best. I think I kind of managed to, even though it was my first proper interview, I feel like I really managed to make it conversational and sort of have that natural element to it, even though I was very inexperienced. I had done a couple like small like talks and stuff with people for like local publications, but doing like an interview with someone who's like actually does something was definitely kind of a first. And it is a once in a blue moon that you get to interview a modern classical composer. They're not very rare, or they're not very common. Other way around. But that I would just say that interview really just started off my journey on just talking to some really really cool individuals that have it's really just in general interviewing has really broadened my perspective on just writing and journalism in general, I would say, and it started there.
For me, I would say I really loved the interview with Diane Crago for the oil painting episode just because it was really last minute, so I really did not have any high expectations for the interview at all. But the amount of depth and like information that she provided about oil painting, like I wasn't really expecting that at all. So it was a great, like happy surprise. And she honestly provided so much historical information and made such like thought-provoking connections that I was like blown away by the end of the interview. And I really loved that she had prepared like for Blue and I some examples of different oil paintings from different time periods just to talk through us like after the interview. I just thought that was super cool and thoughtful. So yeah, that's why I loved it.
Oh yeah, for that episode, I was like in the back doing like the little note things, and I remember like being like, "Oh crap, I'm supposed to be taking notes," because she was like such a like well articulated woman, and like it like yes, it's a podcast, but oh my god, I feel like she could have her own podcast.
Yeah,
Because she
honestly.
like brought so much like knowledge and so much connection, and she also like brought up some good questions, and I just remember like getting so focused on that. That was a really all of these interviews are great, but I'm just like just brought back that memory. My favorite interview the sticker movie people. Like, they're very sweet people, and I loved interviewing all three. And Blue was there next to me, and that like kind of brings me to like even though like I can't say that all my interviews were favorite interviews, but I really liked the interviews where I was like able to sit with like a co-host and just have like a little round table discussion kind of. I remember I think the first time we implemented it was with Phoebe.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that was really fun. I really like that. I remember being really scared. Like, I don't want to do this, but like maybe I was too keen on the idea because all the rest of my interviews I dragged along someone, but it made it more fun. It made it more fun in my opinion.
It was good. It was good.
Yeah. Honestly, interviews can be really scary, but I feel like one skill that I developed in addition to interviews is as time passed and I did more recordings, I got more practice and I was able to like, become more like conversational, I feel like, and less reliant on this script because before I was so nervous that I would just like read off paragraphs from my computer. So I feel like this new skill kind of developed because as time passed and I got more comfortable with the setup and also with my wonderful co-hosts, it was easier to look up from the script more and really like go with the flow of the conversation, especially when it took like turns that we didn't anticipate, so it made it more natural. And this is perfect because I feel like the only reason that I was ever really hesitant to apply for TAP was because I was scared of having to do, like improv speaking on a mic because that was something I was not comfortable with at all before. So I'm glad I was able to, learn that skill even just a little.
Yay, Ashwari.
I mean, we're doing it right now.
Yeah.
Like, I was like, wow, this is like peak like showing growth. I'm like,
Yeah.
look at her go. That like brings me to like she mentioned like, oh, the thing that might have kept her away from TAP. The thing that drew me to TAP was the fact that I was like TeenTix, but less writing. In my brain, I was running away from the writing. And so when I came in the meeting and it's like, uh-oh, I need to write a whole script, I made a mess out of the first script. Ashwari's beautiful script obliterated. I obliterated that.
You did it.
Oh, I looked back on it yesterday. But I feel like that's like just to like show, one, you can't run away from your problems, and two, life is so much better when you don't run away from your problems. Because my school has like creative writing classes, and I took a couple. I confirmed, yeah, not the best writer, but also confirmed, wow, I'm a great learner. And I feel like that's something that I'm continuing to work on, and hopefully next year I will be much better at. But I feel like my script writing has improved slightly.
No, it's good.
It's really good.
My formatting, I will say, got better. I don't know about the actual contents because like I get things down, but like when I read through it, I don't actually read from my script. I think I've made it pretty clear.
It's okay. We
Yeah.
have different ways of doing things.
Yeah.
Speaking of like you guys like working on scripts together, I feel like I have gotten so much better at like actually like writing scripts that are like meant for more than one person. Because I feel like at the beginning I kind of just like I have a tendency like in group stuff to like take over everything because I'm like, oh, it has to be this certain way. But I feel like I've gotten a lot better at like being like, oh, this can be what you have and this is my part and like everything's all good. Yeah, but at the beginning I was like not as good as that. But yeah, and I also like feel like I got so much better at interviewing people. I think like my later interviews are so much more like comfortable and I'm able to like go with the flow and like improv more than I was at the beginning, and I just like feel a lot more comfortable with them.
Yeah, I would agree with your later point that interviewing is definitely something that both you and I believe we have developed to a very further point from where we started. I had, like I said before, I had no experience with interviewing before TAP, and now at the end of the year, I feel like it's one of my best journalistic skills. And generally, I've kind of developed almost this ideology around it that like interviewing is like, in my opinion, one of the most underrated and best ways to gain general information. Like I like every time I like look at something, like even like go to a show or something, I'm like, I could interview someone here.
Ask them about the
Like,
weather
yeah.
today.
Yeah, exactly. Like it's also a way to build a lot of different skills. It's a way to build your writing, your talking, your eloquency, and your general the ability to guide a conversation naturally while hitting the main points is something that can be overlooked sometimes. Like being able to simultaneously make something flow well, but also maintain a natural demeanor is can be really hard sometimes. And I feel like it's something that people sometimes overlook, but it's something that I've really been emphasizing in the past year, and it's a skill I think I've really developed.
I think we've all developed a lot, and it's like now that I'm like really hearing it from all of our mouths, like, guys, did you know that improvement exists?
We've come
Oh
so
my
far.
god! Because I remember the beginning of the year, Coco like had us do our little strengths test. Looking back on it, I really hate it because my school made me do that too. That's on a different note. But like now I'm looking back, I'm like, oh my god, we grew. We grew our strengths. We grew our weak strengths. I remember like at least one of my weak strengths is like organization.
You got better.
I got better. Now I know to bold some words and to italicize others.
So yeah, that's about everything. Special thanks to everyone behind the scenes who helped make this happen, like the Vera project for the recording space, which is not applicable today. Beyond Zero Radio for their help in producing TAP, especially Moss for helping us record, and Alex for editing. And Totem Star, recording artist Lily Indigo for the music you heard at the beginning of this episode.
And a giant thank you to Coco, our program lead, for not only supervising, but also like mentoring us through everything, and also like kind of making sure that we didn't like crash and burn and not meet the deadlines. And like we really would not have been able to like produce these episodes at such like a high quality without not only Coco's support, but Ground Zero and like the spaces we were given. That's all we have for this season. And a biggest thank you to you, the listener, for tuning in.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye. It says blow some kisses. I wrote blow some kisses and I didn't see any kisses.
Oh, sorry.
No, just waves. Is that it?